will begin today using the bolster, if you like, in a child's pose. So what does the child's pose look like when we're using something like this? You would maybe open your knees out, just I have done that. And then bring your big toes together and then pop that, whatever you're using, I will call that simply a bolster, and bring that in between. Now, mine's quite firm. Yours might be a little bit more fluffy. I sometimes see that as a big teddy bear and just wrap my arms around it. And if you do the same, even the blanket comes up a bit. Now, as you come to rest there, you might turn an ear towards your cushioning and just rest on it. If it's available to you and your knees are feeling okay in this position, let your buttocks sink back towards your heels as you're coming to rest in this pose. Now, please notice that especially if your arms are wrapped underneath your cushion, let the elbows spread out. Find as much softness in the shoulders as you possibly can. Maybe even close your eyes. And if you now notice, I would really like another cushion or something, just hop up. Get whatever you think might be useful for you. Don't be shy to move around just because I'm observing you. We would do the same in a class anyway. And finding your comfort. Please notice what side ear you bring towards your cushioning and come into a moment where you're just resting, where you're allowing yourself that loving embrace, basically of yourself, and where you feel a sense of being supported, held, and maybe even a bit of love towards yourself. More important than spreading love to other people is that we love ourselves and that we take this time for ourselves to tune in and to give back to ourselves. Although we are in an isolation state, oftentimes it is that we're desperately reaching out or caring for those that live with us. Take this time, embrace yourself, just as you are, with the mind wandering off, with worries, fears, and concerns that might be cruising through your head. Allow yourself to feel the physical body in this restful position. To allow yourself to pause. As you come to pause, there is your breath that is flowing in and out of the nose. If you think it is appropriate for your neck, turn your head towards the other side. If you notice there it's not quite the right thing for your neck to do, please come back to the previous side. As you begin to tune in more with your own breath flowing, I will tell you a little bit about the card that I picked for this morning's practice. It is taken from a healing card deck, and it has a dancer in front. It says, "May all creation dance for joy within you." All you want to do today is love being alive, even if it's the hardest thing you've ever done. Appreciate the sounds, sights, and sensations of your life. Friends, books, ideas, sleep. Just enjoy. You might make that the theme for the practice this morning, as we will move gently, yet keeping ourselves in that dance that is a link between your breath, your mind, and your body, and embracing all of that, and even the things that you're using in your household to play with as we move about. For your first movement, extend your arms forward. Place the palms of the hands down onto the floor and push into the arms. As you lengthen the arms, lengthen your spine as well. You might still be seated somewhere behind your bolster. As you take your next inhalation, lift your hips away from your heels. You're almost in a perfect all-four stance. Pushing your support a little bit backwards from there and beginning to sit on it. If this is uncomfortable to sit on the knees because some supports are a little bit lower than my bolster, please feel free to bring your legs out in front of you. Allow your shoulders to shrug up to your ears while you're breathing in. And then roll them forward and allow your back to round. As you come forward, tuck the chin in. Let's take a breath in and draw the shoulders back. Then lift them up once more. Let the arms come into that movement too and roll them forward. Do that one more time. As you're breathing in, pull the shoulders back, roll them up, and as you're breathing out, bring them forward. Hold in this rounded position, the head quite low. While you take a breath in, then move the body a bit forward, lift the shoulders again, roll them back and down, the heart begins to open. As you breathe in, move the shoulders forward, allow your spine to move with that. Lift the shoulders up, arms moving along, chest is opening. And one more time, take a big breath in, rolling and lifting, and then find your arms resting alongside the body. Take a moment to just acknowledge the way you're sitting. And maybe it's just like it is for me, that I'm leaning usually a little bit forward and I've got that slightly bigger curve around my lower back. See if that's happening for you too. Lean back into the seat. Trust fully through the sit bones. Allow the knees to be more relaxed, the arms to be soft. If you like, you can close the eyes again. We will breathe in deeply as the arms are reaching out towards the sides and then up over the head. If you can't reach your arms up that high, do as far as you can, touching the fingertips together. And as you're breathing out, then lower the arms again. Arms can either be fully extended or you can have your elbows soft. Please notice what feels right for you as you're releasing the arms down. Now pause this for a moment. And on your next exhalation, just drawing the skin underneath your navel towards the tailbone. Notice that the pelvis might want to tilt slightly. When you're breathing in, you're relaxing that again. Do this simple movement a couple more times. Skin under the navel, pulling it towards the tailbone. On your in-breath, let that go, belly expanding. And one more round. And then remind yourself of that as we extend into the movement and the breath. On the next inhalation, reach your arms out and up again. Maybe a lift of the gaze, absolutely optional. On the out breath, engage this mula bandha, skin under the navel to the tailbone, and releasing your arms back down slowly by your sides. So keep your breath flowing, finding your own pace. But maybe at the end of this next inhalation, holding the breath as you're holding your body long, arms reaching up. And then the same activation as you're breathing out and the arms are slowly moving down. You can have your eyes closed now, where we're not changing anything here at all. Or just keep moving like this. Do this in your own pace. While you're breathing in, the arms are lifting. You might hold at the end of the inhalation in your length. You would breathe out to activate Mula Bandha while the arms are moving back down and alongside the body. And then you would pay attention to that switching over of your breaths before you start it all over again. Go with this. Make it your own. Full awareness, movement, breath, mind. Go for one more round. As you find your arms resting again down by your sides, step your right foot forward, slide the leg out in front of you, start to flex through the right foot so that your toes are pointing upwards. While your leg might be extended on this side, the other one might still be bent in. As you turn towards this extended leg, you might choose to bend the knee if you need to. As you breathe in for the pace that we have established, reaching up and maybe even pausing your breathing. And when you're then breathing out, activate Mula Bandha again and lean gently towards this leg. Let your hands land somewhere. Watch as the breath in comes and just lengthen your spine forward using the hands on the floor to help you with this. Pausing at the end of this inhalation, using Mula Bandha again, that's the skin under the navel, and folding maybe that little bit deeper. Stay with this slide action and the pace of the breath, maybe including the pause at the end of the inhalation. And using your out breaths to deepen this gentle bend. Please don't force, the body is not quite warm yet. Just allowing yourself to be with the breath and what the breath and the slide hold and the activation have to offer for you. When you completed your next breath cycle, pause. And as you breathe in next, come up onto your fingertips, lifting the spine. Pause again if there is a possibility to do so. And while you breathe out, walking your hands backwards. Let's bend the knee again. Extending into the other leg. As you might slide it out long at first, left leg comes forward. You can choose to flex the foot, fully extend the leg for a moment as you find your way. There's always options to bring the knee further out or change the leg on the other side. You might step the foot down if there's trouble in the hip or the knee. So please find your variation rather than thinking you have to be a certain way. Bending the knee now if you need to while you're turning your body towards this leg. Arms still relaxed. Take a deep breath in, circle your arms out and up. Maybe pausing here at the end of the inhalation. Using Mula Bandha as you're breathing out. Let's circle the arms out and around and land your hands down somewhere beside your leg. As you breathe in, lengthen the spine forward. Using the hold of the breath as well as activation on your out breath. Folding a little bit deeper. Come back to this breathing. I will thread this breath throughout the whole practice, just finding your own pace and going with it. There's nowhere in particular to be, but present within the physical body, your breath, your mind as it might wander off. When your next cycle is finished, lift up onto your fingertips as you inhale. Again, the spine lengthens, you might pause. And when breathing out, walking your hands backwards. You might now step the foot back as you come again into your seated position. Please do have your legs out the front if this becomes physically challenging. As you take your next breath in, reaching the arms out and up again. And you might come to touch the fingertips once more while you're holding your breath. As you then exhale, only lowering your right arm down. While you're inhaling, reach into the opposites. Left hand up, right hand down. And as you come to your exhalation, land onto the hand and stretch to the side. You might choose to bend the elbow that you're leaning upon. Take a breath in, find more length as you encourage the opposite side of the buttocks away from the fingertips. And then maybe deepening at the end of this exhalation. As you breathe in, push your arms back up and release the left arm while breathing out. Notice that these sides will feel quite different right now. Waiting for your next inhalation as you're circling your arms out and up. Pausing, and on the next out by lowering your left arm only down towards the ground. As you breathe in, reach upwards and downwards into the diagonal of the body. Pausing, and when you're exhaling, lean towards your left hand and begin to bend to the side. Lower elbow might soften again. Reach out into the fingers and encourage the opposite side of the buttocks in the other direction. Stay within this extension, be active. Whenever your next inhalation comes, lifting through the right arm, maybe even have your pause. And when breathing out, lower the right arm back down onto the floor. Maybe close your eyes now, soften into the pose. Notice how you're feeling. As you lean the weight forward, lift your hips up now. Let's take our cushioning out of the way. I invite you to come to an all-four stance. Spread your hands out onto the mat. Try and move the weight away from the wrists and place it more firmly into the hands. From there, extending your right leg out. Push out through the heel of the right foot. Maintain strength in the arms and in the space between the shoulder blades. Oftentimes we do want to collapse here. Lower your right heel. And while you take a breath in, lifting your right arm over the head. Stay in the full extension if you can. From the outer edge of your right foot to the fingertips of the right arm. As you breathe in, you might bend your right knee, draw a full circle with the right arm as you place your hand back down and your knee. Now let's do the same on the other side. Extending into the left leg, keep the toes tucked under. Start to push back into the arms. Try not to collapse in the upper back. Notice the weight bearing within the hands rather than the wrists. As you're here in this half plank variation, lower your left heel, the whole sole of the left foot. And as you take your next in-breath, let your left arm come above the head. Finding length again as you encourage the outer edge of the left foot into the floor while reaching into your left hand fingertips. Enjoying the full length of the supported side plank or Vasisthasana. As you feel the length in the body, release this length by bending the left knee. Take your arm for a full circle. Take it down, back onto the mat, your hand landing. Bring your knee down onto the mat and come into a very angry cat as you come up onto your claws, your fingertips, and rounding into the back. Hold the roundedness. Maybe even draw your navel up to the front of the spine as you're pausing here. Then spread your hands out onto the mat. I will give you a choice now. There's a choice, although I said this practice is gentle, it's really up to you where your level of gentleness sits. So what I would ask you to do is be firm on your hands and dropping into the space between the shoulder blades, almost squeezing the shoulder blades together as your chest lowers. That's your in-breath. And when you're breathing out, you're pushing that space upwards without rounding the whole back. Keep the rest of the body stable. While you're breathing in, squeezing your shoulder blades together, light drop off the chest, arms remain strong. And as you breathe out, push out in between the shoulder blades. Now, those of you who feel really, really strong, and only if you do, you can do the same movement from a plank. While you're breathing in to bring your shoulder blades together, here you would have to hold your core and then pushing out between the shoulder blades. Keep doing so as you inhale, bring your shoulder blades close. As you're breathing out, push them up. Try for 3 more rounds. Your variation, and you can change the variation. If you're in the plank and you're dropping between the shoulder blades, make sure your hips aren't sinking down. This is very strong, so you might bring the knees back down onto the floor. Once you have completed all of these, I will ask you to drop the knees back down onto all fours and return to your angry cat. Just the fingertips onto the mat and deeply rounding into the back, the head low, navel drawing in, pausing. Once you're here, release your feet to the front end of the mat. However, you will be able to do so. And please do take your time as you're starting to roll up into standing. Now notice how your shoulders, your upper back are feeling lightly. They will feel quite warm. Nevertheless, bring the shoulders back. Do a few circles. Have a little bounce in the knees. Remember, we're dancing through this practice, through this day. Whatever it is that you need in your body, find it back into its loose pace. As you then come to stand, standing here in mountain pose. We will take a breath in, and you can choose to just lift the right heel or lift the right knee upwards. Making soft fists with your hands as you're breathing out to step the right foot back. into a warrior pose. Warrior 1. Release your arms down by your sides. Find your stance. The feet for me are usually about hip distance apart. The back toes diagonally forward so that my hips find a solid space to stand, to be open towards the front. Returning to our breath while you're starting to pull your feet in towards each other, getting a sensation as if the whole legs are switching on. While you take a breath in, let's reach your arms out and up. Maybe pausing the breath at the top of the inhalation. And while you're breathing out, start to activate this Mula Bandha again, the skin underneath the navel and the arms releasing down by the sides. Keep the contact into the mat and repeat for 2 more breaths. Inhaling as the arms reaching out and up, pausing at the top of the inhalation. Engaging again as you're breathing out to lower, and I'll leave you with that, finding your own pace, at least for the last repetition here. Once you have completed this last repetition, push the back heel up away from the mat. Turn the foot slightly and encourage the heel backwards now as we turn this into a lunge. If you experience this stance as too short, step the right foot a little bit further back, deepening your lunge. We will go again into the breath. As you inhale, reach the arms out and up, and your choice to pause again briefly at the top of the inhalation. And then start to twist as you're breathing out, but your arms only coming out to shoulder height. Leave the palms of the hands facing upwards. Let the breath switch over. As you inhale, you might push into the foot behind, turning towards the front. Fingertips might touch, and we'll repeat that as you're breathing out. Come to twist. Keep your palms open, maybe even turn your gaze towards the side, deepening your lunge. We'll do that for 1 more. Breathe in, turn the body, maybe pause. And breathing out as you open. As you inhale, come back up. As you're breathing out, circle the arms out and place your hands down on top of the thigh. While you inhale, shift the weight forward. Draw the foot in and release this into a standing forward bend as you're breathing out. Lower your head. You might soften your knees. You might lean the weight forward within your feet. Allow your neck to move if that feels good. Maybe even your arms to sway. Maybe the whole body is swaying a little bit. Allow yourself to experience and to enjoy whatever you're feeling without any judgment. Please do engage into Mula Bandha for your next exhalation and take your time to roll back up into standing. Once you're standing, find some free flow movements again to move your arms, to move your stance. And then come back to mountain pose, standing tall. While you breathe in, let's circle the arms out and up. You might only lift your left heel or even your left knee. And while you're breathing out, stepping the foot back into a warrior one stance. I will ask you again to find your stance about hip distance apart so the pelvis can face forward. The front knee is in a bend and you're starting to activate the legs by pulling them lightly in towards each other, noticing how the legs switch on, building your foundation. Then return to our breath. You know how it works now. On the inhalation, arms reaching out and up. Maybe a breath retention at the top of the inhalation. When breathing out, switch Mula Bandha on, skin underneath the navel as your arms releasing. Please do pay attention to the switch of the breath and repeat for 2 more. Once you have completed these 2, starting to lift the back heel off the floor, encouraging this heel backwards now. If the stance feels too short, stepping the left foot back a little, keeping the right knee in a bend. Let's move with this breath towards a twist as you inhale, lifting the arms out and up. Maybe pausing briefly at the top of the inhalation. And when you're breathing out, turn towards the right, arms open, palms facing up. You might sink into your lunge. While you're breathing in, you might push off the back foot, reaching the arms up. And we'll repeat on the out breath, turning again. With the palms facing up, shoulders are quite relaxed. Go for another round. Breathe in to lift. Breathe out to twist. Breathe in to lift. And when your out breath comes, circle your arms out. Bring your hands down on top of the thigh. Shift the weight forward. Slide your foot in and release back into Uttanasana, or standing forward bend. Once more, shift the weight lightly forward within your feet. Knees can be bent, shoulders can be relaxed. Allow your head to be low if your blood pressure allows you to have it there, and maybe add some movement like a gentle swaying. And from this place, engaging Mula Bandha, on your out breath, curl back up into standing. Nice and slowly feeling the vertebrae moving, and find some free flowing movement again as you come to stand. We're all doing this, right? Adjusting the clothing, wiggling around a little. Find your tall stands again, mountain pose. Feet might be a little bit apart. We're moving in towards a tree pose, but we keep our arm movement and the breath going. So your choice. As you're lifting the right heel first, you might just turn your knee out. You could place the foot against the leg below the knee, or you might even help your foot up to the inner thigh. If you do so, please push thigh and foot against each other. There's no limit, there's no regulation where this foot needs to be. Leave your arms open, 3 rounds. Inhaling as the arms are lifting. If you want a light challenge, the gaze is forward, maybe holding the breath. When exhaling, let your arms circle back out. releasing them down by your sides. Repeating in your own time, 2 more rounds. With the last one, you will land your foot down onto the ground while you're releasing your arms. Pause, try and be steady, steady as a mountain. Before you're shifting sides, the weight leaning to the right foot. Ideally, we would want to have the same tree pose as on the other side. However, this might not be possible. Find your balance first, steady the gaze. And again, 3 rounds of movement and breath as you're inhaling to lift. Maybe pausing the breath in the length and breathing out to release. Same here, 2 more rounds, your own pace, your dance between physical body, breath and mind. And the same here, once you have completed landing the foot together with the last arm movement. Allow yourself now to bend your knees a bit more, to tuck the chin in and to make your arms real heavy as you start to lean forward. Bending the knees to the point that you can place your belly upon your thighs and then let the head hang. Make the head heavy once more. Maybe shake the head for a no, but also for a yes. Then take a breath in. Your hands might press against your shins as you're lengthening the spine to the front. And as you're breathing out, please step your feet back to the end of the mat. Bring your knees down onto the floor. You might swing the feet out to one side and come down to sit. As we bring our legs out in front, let's extend the legs out. See if you can sit like this or if you need a little bit of support here. Find your fingertips on the ground and walk out through your sit bones. Bend your knees a little. As you take your deep breath in, the arms are circling up and over the head. Pause in the length and even actively stretch upwards. And while you're breathing out, begin to lean the body forward. Let your hands land somewhere comfortable by the side of the leg. Maybe you're already experiencing a stretch in the backs of the legs. As you inhale, lengthen the spine, gaze lowers. Pause, breathe out using Mula Bandha and fold a little bit more towards your legs. Breathing in as you're finding more length. Breathing out as you're releasing more deeply. Stay with this. Few more breaths. Let your shoulders be relaxed, feet to be flexed, maybe the knees to be bent. If you have removed your bolster or cushioning by the side. Walk your hands back now and come to a seated position. Take this thing back onto your mat as I invite you to come into a seated position. So it's not important now that it is round, only that we have a cushioning underneath for a more comfortable seated position. I invite you to whatever seat feels right for you. I feel like I'm sliding down my bolster, so I'll sit myself a little bit higher up. It's not important whether the knees are down to the ground or not. And if your house feels quite cool, then please pop on something, because we bring the body now into stillness, moving into a pranayama practice or breathing technique before I invite you into a more relaxing position. We have been breathing all the way through this class. Now I invite you to a different breathing technique. I invite you into one that is said to bring balance between left and right side of the brain. It's called Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. Some of you have done this before. I use my dominant hand, which is my right, and I use for that the thumb to close off the right nostril and the ring finger to close off the left. There's two fingers that are kind of spare. You can either rest them to the third eye point, which stimulates your ability to see. Sometimes that's not the nicest place, and you could fold them into the palm of the hand. The little finger might do the same. So choosing your position. You can rest the hands there, just hovering over the nostrils to alternate. This arm, as we practice, can become a little bit heavy, and to support it, could you place the other palm underneath your elbow to rest your arm in. Please feel free to change sides if it's getting too much. We will begin by closing off the right nostril, breathing in deeply through the left. You might have a brief pause here as you switch over. Close the left, open the right, and exhaling through your right nostril. You will hold here while inhaling through the right. You will then pause briefly, switching over and exhaling through the left. That was one cycle. Breathing in through the left. Exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right. Exhaling through the left. Keep going like this. In through your left side to start the cycle. Out through the right. In through the right. And out through the left. Please keep going. I'm counting for us. Few more breaths and resting afterwards. Once you have completed, arms will be resting, body will be resting as you observe. You will still have a couple of asana left, but maybe choose to support them. Supporting them with block or cushioning. I will ask you to have your chosen support close by your mat. As you come to lie down on your back, resting onto the back with your feet stepped onto the floor, hip distance apart, toes facing forward. The first of these two poses is a supported bridge. While you choose your inhale to tilt the pelvis, squeeze your buttocks and breathe out to push the hips up. You might enjoy this extension and pause here for a little while. You might choose to take your support and slide it underneath the sacrum. If you've got a broader support just rested underneath the hips, it will be nice and relaxing there. The block, however, should keep the rest of the spine free and just rest underneath the sacrum. If you have a block, take it flat or maximum halfway up and come to rest here, allowing your hips to fully rest on your chosen support. If you enjoy this or you can feel there's a lot of lengthening happening, you could take your hands onto your pelvis and lightly and gently massage with your fingertips around the soft parts, maybe into your hip crease, around the hip bones, and slightly above the pelvis towards your lower back. You can do so for however long you're enjoying that, even for the rest of the class, if that's your choice. Or you can rest your arms down, and you might find it beneficial potentially to extend the legs out. This does not suit everybody, so please be aware particularly of the lower back if you choose to do so. It might be beneficial for a few breaths and then you notice, oh, it is no longer, and please feel free to then step your feet down onto the ground. While you are resting in your chosen variation here, I encourage you to return to a deep, full breath in, maybe pausing the breath at the end of the exhalation, but leaving out the activation of Mula Bandha and just simply exhaling slowly. Maybe you choose to stay here for another 2 breaths of this kind. When you have completed this practice, this pose, step your feet back down onto the floor. Allow the pelvis to soften as you inhale and squeeze your buttocks and push the hips up as you're breathing out. Please do remove the support from underneath and take your time to roll your spine back down onto the floor. The second posture is purely of your choice. We all come out of these postures in different ways, as in sensations within the physical body. Please choose a movement that feels nourishing and also feels like as if you are completing your practice, such as rocking the knees from side to side or giving them a hug in towards the chest. From this place, then find a Savasana pose, your relaxation. As we pulled in all these measures of support when we began the practice, make good use of them. Maybe pop something underneath your knees, a light and thin cushioning underneath the head, or cover yourself up with a blanket, as we'll be still for a few minutes to allow yourself to be perfectly comfortable. When you found a comfortable lying position, just making sure that everything is relaxing, that your legs are relaxed, your hips, and you might have your arms falling away from the body. They can still be snugged underneath the blanket, just so the shoulders can soften. Take your awareness into your neck now. Notice how your neck is feeling right now in this pose. Maybe you need to adjust the neck slightly with a very gentle movement. And then come into this body. Stay with the sensations in the neck. Tune in with the sensation of the head quite heavy against your support. Let your mind wander onto the face. Bring softness over the face, eyes, jaw. Let awareness drop now through the throat, into the shoulders, down the arms to hands and fingers. Let your mind return to the torso, noticing the subtle movement across the front of it, maybe into the sides ever so gently. Notice your back, the curve of the back, pelvis, buttocks, and take awareness all the way down through the legs into the feet. Giving your body full permission to rest, to feel heavy or light, whatever it does. As the body is still, notice your breath again. you are practicing self-study. It is a practice of truthfulness. And any serious attempt at truthfulness requires us to listen deeply to the prompting of our heart. The truth is usually quite simple, but expressing it is another matter. Bringing higher levels of honesty to your daily life and its interactions might get you stuck, or a feeling of being stuck in layers of illusion, blame, fear, manipulation, not in any particular, but in a lot of different situations. Yet when we are very truthful with ourselves, as we learn to understand ourselves, this is like music to the soul. The soul is longing for truthfulness. So study yourself, observe yourself in the day ahead. Begin to deepen your breathing now, starting to move the body, maybe have a stretch. And if you like, you can bend your knees and roll over to your side and stay there for another moment. Choosing any side, the one that feels best. And then from this place, lifting yourself gently into a seated pose. Be comfortable within this seat again. If you need a little bit of support, please take the support underneath you. Come to an upright seated position and close the eyes again, allowing yourself to focus inwards. To focus inwards and be once more connected to all that there is of you. The physical body in its seat, your breath may be gentle, and all the chitter chatter of the mind. Maybe you're questioning yourself right now. What could it be like to study yourself throughout this day, to be truthful? I will be sharing a moment of my truthfulness with you, maybe as an inspiration. These last couple of weeks, I was observing myself reacting to all of the changes, being very highly driven and motivated to get this online teaching going. And one day, last week, I was sitting in meditation, which is part of self-study, noticing that this being driven to get this done not only caused some stress, but was also pretty much driven by fear. Fear of losing income, fear of change that was enforced upon us all. I'm completely relaxed, happy and peaceful now, as I took this time to acknowledge, to be humble enough to admit that I do hold fears. And it is a matter of shining light on our thoughts, on our emotions, that will help us to come back into balance. If you choose to, bringing the palms of the hands to touch in front of the chest, as we acknowledge in a very humble way each other. Namaste.